Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you once again for tuning in week after week. We are trending on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts because of you, and I can't thank you guys enough. It's just my gratitude is so full. I wish I could give each one of you a hug right now. It's just amazing to me, but it's not because of me, and I think the reason why this has been so successful is because it's not about me. It's about these amazing people that come on the show. And today's going to be no different. Today we're joined by Randi Neal. Randi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you guys are going to be blown away at Randi's story. She's an amazing individual. I do need to give a shout out before we get started to our sponsors, Siegfried & Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, Thread Wallets, Living Recovery Interventions, and Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics. And the music that you heard at the beginning of this show and at the end is by my good friend Paul Cardall. He's one of the most amazing pianists and musicians you'll ever meet. And I'm just grateful that he's willing to allow us to use some of his music. So again, this show is amazing because of the amazing people that are involved. So, but yeah, you guys are going to be blown away by Randi. She's got a story of overcoming addiction. She at one point was arrested for selling drugs. She was struggling with meth for over 5 years. She's a 2-time felon. She was homeless for 2 years. I mean, seriously, guys, if you saw her, you would never guess this in a million years. She always thought that maybe she might end her life every single day. But she's also was an honor student. She has tons of friends. She was a dancer. Yeah. Right? Is that correct?
Absolutely.
She also graduated from Weber State with her bachelor's on professional sales. You're a magna cum laude?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. She has a very supportive mom, grandma, and grandpa who loved her. You know, she's got 2 amazing kids. She wants to be a future trauma and recovery coach, which she's getting ready to do that. She's also a mental health advocate. The list goes on, but we want to hear more from you, Randi. Yeah. Thank you so much again for tuning in and for being here with us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we start, Randi? Tell us where you grew up and maybe just a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Utah. Okay. Grew up in Ogden. My dad was never really in the picture. Okay. He was kind of, from my recollection or my memory, he was in and out of prison or jail quite often. My mom had me when she was in high school. Okay. And then she ended up getting remarried. And he was kind of really the only real father that I knew. But I'll say, he actually, so he was my stepdad. He actually sexually abused me for, I think it was 6 or 7, 8, 9, and 10 years of age. And so that for me, I think was kind of where the trauma really started.
If you don't mind me asking, did family, other members know that this was happening, or is this all behind the scenes and
nobody knew? I mean, I think part of, sexual abuse comes, I was threatened, my mom was pregnant with my little brother at the time. Okay. And when she actually had my little brother, he would threaten his life or my mom's life, or, it came with this burden of, if I spoke up, what was going to happen? Something bad's going to happen. Yeah. Worse. And at 7, 8, 9, you don't know.
You don't know. Yeah. You're a kid.
You don't know any better. I just thought, if I had said something that, who knows what would happen. Right.
Yeah.
But I will say that, when I was 10 years old and I had kind of finally had enough, I guess. I'd reached a breaking point, and I told my mother about the abuse, and he he was gone immediately. You know, we had to go through that whole process of, you know, he's a convicted sex offender, and I went through therapy, and after that, I want to say maybe 30 days after I actually told my mom about the abuse, my real dad actually died.
Oh, wow.
So, which, you know, they say that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I genuinely believe that he passed for, you know, for a reason. What reason, I don't know. I do know that my dad was, how do you say it? Like, he probably wouldn't have made the best choices, you know, knowing that what he had done to his little girl.
Yeah.
And it could have led to my little brother growing up without a dad himself, you know,
right.
So I just don't know. But, so he passed away.
And you're 10 at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you handle all that? I mean, was it kind of, were you numb to it at the time, or were you really sad?
Yeah, I think that, I was pretty numb to it.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. So part of like the recovery, or like the process of kind of handling that is, you know, I was court-ordered to go to therapy and, you know, all of these things and go through these programs, and I did them, right? You know, at 10 years old, I went to therapy, but I'd always had this mindset when I was younger of like, how can I go to therapy and talk to somebody that's never actually been through what I've been through? Yeah. Like, how can you relate to how I'm feeling, or how can you give me advice on what I should be doing, or how it's going to get better when you haven't been there, you know? Yeah. And so I remember my mom, when I was talking to her about kind of like my goals with We Rise, she goes, Randy, I don't know if you remember telling me this when you were just graduating your therapy, you know, after the abuse. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Mom? Right. What did I say? Like, I don't know. Tell me. And she's like, I looked at you and I said, do you feel better? Don't you feel so much better now? You know, you're graduating this program. You've completed this therapy. Like, and I looked at my mom and I said, I told them what they wanted to hear, because how can anybody that hasn't experienced what I've experienced give me any advice? Wow. You know, and that was me at 10 years old.
At 10, you're thinking that way.
I'm thinking that way. Like, you can't, like, you're going to prescribe me something clinically from a book, like, but have you experienced that? So, so that was my childhood, you know.
So a rough childhood. I mean, you know, and again, seeing you sit here, you know, just this beautiful light shining from you, would never know that that's what you've been through. Yeah. Again, that's probably why you came up with We Rise. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you mentioned that just a little bit. Explain what that is. We're going to get back to the story, but you mentioned We Rise. I don't want to forget that to talk about that.
So essentially my goal for We Rise is, step one is to become a trauma coach. And, a lot of the conversations that I've had with people over the last, you know, year and a half or so just basically comes down to the fact that they feel comfortable talking to somebody that has lived a similar experience, or has overcome, you know, whether it was addiction or sexual abuse, or, you know, even just divorce, you know, those types of traumas. You know, trauma for everybody is different, right? Like, there's so many different types of trauma. I think that even just being isolated with COVID, that is a level of trauma for sure, for people's mental health.
For a lot of people,
and so basically my inevitable goal for We Rise is to be able to have a, whether it's like a platform or some type of website that houses therapists or coaches that lead with their stories. Okay. Lead with what they've overcome and the trauma that they've had to, you know, deal with in their life, so that somebody that is either going through a similar trauma or has already experienced that trauma and is still kind of working through that can look to this basically book of therapists and say, I'm going to pick Randi because she's also been sexually abused, or, I'm going to pick Todd because he was also, a recovering addict or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So just kind of to flip it a little bit that way. That's the goal. So
no, I love that. And it's, we were talking about this before we went live on air here, is, owning your story.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think that does place the person who's coming to see you at ease a little bit, like, okay, this person's been through it. They've made it through it. Here they are now helping me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to listen to you now because of what you've been through, and I'm going to take every word you're saying and I'm going to do it, kind of thing. Is that right?
You know what's so crazy? And now that you say that back to me, is my mom used to say, learn from my experiences. Like, let me tell you, I've been through this, right? Like, and I would tell my mom all the time, I'm not that person. I have to go through it myself to, to be able to do that. But now that I'm thinking, I'm like, those were very wise words. Learn from my experience, learn from my story. And I don't know if maybe just back then it was, not as accepted maybe. But yeah.
Yeah. I think back then we didn't talk about it so much, and it's almost like, don't talk about that. Just keep it down.
I know.
And that's why I love where we're at today, is more people are talking about it. That's why we need more people like you, Randi, who are out there saying, hey, here's what I've been through. I want to give back now and help someone who's been through it as well.
Yeah.
So that's not your full story, right?
Yeah.
You've been through a lot. So you go through all of this around age 10, as you get older. When did you get introduced with drugs and alcohol and things like that?
Yeah. So after 10, I was always a good student, always behaved. My mom called me the perfect child because I did all my homework. We never had any issues. Like, her and I were best friends, and then I was on the drill team in high school, and I actually had a connection to somebody that was on the Utah Jazz dancer team. And I basically was, told, like, hey, you know what, you keep doing this and you keep going, you'll have a spot on the jazz dancer team. Like, and my goal, like my dream when I was young, was to be a choreographer. I loved to dance. I was a dancer from the age of 3 till forever. And so, but I believe it was my junior year in high school, I actually got kicked off the drill team for a scenario that inevitably, the school looked back on and said that I shouldn't have been kicked off for, but it came down to the fact that the coach obviously really didn't want me on the team for whatever reason. Growing up in like the North Ogden area, back in those days, it's heavy religion. My mom was a single mom. I was not the standard, you were different. I was the oddball, or I was and so anyhow, I made the decision that I wasn't going to go back onto the team because, it's when you get kicked off and you go through that whole process, and then it's like the team, it's like you're not a part of that team anymore. Yeah. And then to bring you back to the team, it's like, maybe I could have made a different choice then. I don't know. But sure. Then it just, my mind spiraled, and I thought that everything that I'd worked for, the jazz team, all of that choreography was gone. I believe I was 16. Okay. And then that correlates to I stopped dancing. I think I'm gaining weight, which at 16 I definitely was not. But going out partying, and I was drinking more. And then I got introduced to meth because I saw this girl at a party, and everybody there had talked about how she had just lost all this weight, and showed us pictures of how she was before, and then all this weight that she had lost. And where I was at in my mind was, well, what are you doing? I want to try that.
Yeah, how'd you lose all that weight?
How'd you lose all that weight? And, so then she introduced me to meth, and I started using on the weekends, and then the weekends every other weekend turned into every weekend, turned into every day. And then, I started to get into, I could pull my youth criminal history. There's a plethora of charges there also, I was in a Proctor care. I had to do a youth drug court program. I had to do an all-girls rehab facility program, youth, all of this.
This is all before 18,
This
right?
is all before 18, yeah. So I graduated, but barely.
Yeah.
And the only reason that I graduated high school is because my mom went to the school and said, hey, what does she need to do? Give me these packets. And she brought them to me in the rehab facility and let me finish them there. Yeah. So I got my diploma, but I didn't walk with my class or anything.
I want to just pause for a second. This is powerful because I want to point this out to whoever's listening to this, especially young women who are listening to this right now. It was so important that you didn't want to gain weight or you wanted to lose weight.
Right.
That was the catalyst. That was the key thing. Yeah. And that you were willing to try anything.
Yep.
Including meth, which is poison.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I know you know this, but it's like, I just want to point this out, how important it is that we help kids love who they are and where they're at, love their bodies wherever it's at.
Right.
Does that make sense? And if we need to lose a little weight because we've been eating too much, is doing it in a natural and a healthier way.
Right.
But the pressure
and
again, I'm not a girl obviously, but the pressure, I have 3 girls of my own, the pressure of them being skinny and looking a certain way. I mean, that pressure is real.
Yeah. Well, and I think that back then, this is 15 years ago. Social media wasn't even as big as it is now.
Yeah. You throw that in there.
The pressure, I can only imagine. I mean, I know I experience it still to this day for myself.
Yeah.
You get on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok and you see these women that are just, in immaculate shape or, what they deem to be what looks good.
Yeah.
And you want to do that or you strive to do that, or then you start to get this idea in your head of what your body should look like. And if it doesn't look like that, then, it's
how powerful in a negative way that can be,
right?
Which opened up this door to meth for you.
Yep.
Now that doesn't mean you would have maybe gotten in trouble in other ways because you were drinking already, but I mean it led to rehabs and arrests and criminal behavior and all this stuff, all based off of I want to make sure I lose some weight.
Right. Well, my dad was into drugs.
Okay.
My mom had also messed around with drugs, but hers was never it never became anything, right? Like she dabbled in it or tried it or whatever. But for my dad, on my dad's side, addiction was prevalent in his life. And so I think that for me, I believe, addiction is a disease. And, if your parents are more apt or have struggled with an addiction, that you're much more likely to also. Yeah. And so I felt like, for me, once I tried it and I felt that feeling, that was all she wrote for me. Yeah. It was a fast downhill plummet from there. So.
Wow. So you do this for the next 5 years, meth, and now you're older than 18, correct?
Yep.
Now you're what? How old are you before you stopped? 21?
23.
23.
I think is when I stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So still getting arrested, still going through all this, correct?
I spent 3 of my birthdays after I was 18 in Weber County Jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not surprised in the sense that that's what drugs do to people.
Yeah.
Like I said, looks, you can't judge people by looks, but again, just the way you carry yourself, no one ever think, she was a meth addict, right?
Yeah.
But that's why drugs are so bad, because you did things you never would normally do. You didn't set out to, I want to get arrested and go to jail. I hope I can do that. That's not why you
No.
Right?
No.
It's just amazing what drugs can do to how we behave and things like that.
Yeah, drugs definitely
It's amazing.
don't discriminate.
They don't.
They don't care who you are,
Yeah.
how much money you have, what job you have, like what skin color you are.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
You taste them, and that's
So when you're sitting in jail, let's say for the last time that you maybe didn't realize it was the last time, are you telling yourself while you're in jail, are you going, I've got to stop this? Or were you like, get me out of here so I can go use? I mean, what was your mindset?
Every single time I went to jail, I said, I've got to stop this. Every single time.
Yeah.
It's like, the Randi that was high on drugs and, on the streets, sleeping outside. I mean, I've lived through, being raped on drugs. I've been held at gunpoint multiple times. I was actually held hostage for, I think it was, I can't remember specifically how many days, but I remember being in this, I can drive by the house in Ogden still, and it's still there. Yeah. But this little back room, and it was just days that I was locked in there. And
serious.
Yeah, I thought I was going to die. Like, I had no energy, and it was, a man who was really possessive at the time. Yeah. And I remember him coming in, and I thought I was going to die. He had picked me up by my throat and was holding me up against the wall. And I was in my mind, I was like, okay, this is it. You're going to die. Like you are going to die. And I don't know what came over me. I really don't. But I mean, I was 98 pounds, maybe soaking wet. Yeah. I look like a brat doll, big old head and tiny little body. That's what my mom said. Yeah. And something came over me, and I don't know, I had this surge, and I pushed him or kicked him or whatever. And he had fallen. He was a big guy. He was like, over 6 foot. Yeah. And he had fallen onto this door that was on the back that was locked, but he'd broken the door. And so the door opened, and I took off running out there. The cops show up, and I mean, I'm barefoot. I have nothing, and they're like, well, there's not much we can do for you. And I'm like, are you serious?
You're like, I've just been held captive.
Yeah. But, when I guess you fit the description, and it's this, there's really not a whole lot that they could do, because it comes down to a he said, she said, he's on drugs, she's on drugs. Like, what really happened,
Yeah.
But I mean,
my goodness.
So it's like, there's, every single time I went to jail, I thought, you've got to stop this. This isn't you. Like, you're better than this. This isn't who you are, and then you get out and you talk to the same people again, or you have that one text and it just pulls you back in.
Pulls you right back in, yeah.
And so, I mean, I was, the final time that I was in jail, and this was when I was in there on felony. So the first felony I had was drug possession with intent to distribute. And my grandparents bailed me out, and I was living with them. And then I got busted for check forgery. And I went to jail then, and I was in Utah, felony on felony. There's no bail. So I was in there for a while. And then, I get out on probation, and I'm messing up on probation. And then the final time that I got arrested, I shoplifted from Shopco, which used to be on 12th Street, but now it's a different store. And it was the day after Mother's Day.
Okay.
And I remember thinking to myself, this is it. I'm going to prison. I'm done. I've messed up so many times on probation. They've given me so many tries. And so I'm in jail, and my probation officer had said to me, you're going to an all-girls rehab facility. We're sending you there. This is your last straw. If it doesn't work, then you're done. And this was right when the state lost a bunch of funding. So they went from a 5-day work week to a 4-day work week.
Okay.
and a lot of programs, the funding got pulled.
Yeah.
And so then he'd informed me that you don't get to go to the program anymore. So now you get to go to prison. And I know I
Whoa.
I was like, I'm not going to prison. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I know. I was like, okay. And he goes, the only other option that you have, Randy, is if you pay for your own. You do research, you find a rehab facility, you pay for it, and you complete it, and then that's your only option.
Yeah.
So I found this program called Clinical Consultants, and they're actually still in Ogden.
Okay.
And I paid for my own rehab, and I got sober, and that was it. And I don't know if it was the idea that like I'd been in and out of jail for so many years, and I was just so tired, and all of the things that I had done and been through, and I was just like, prison.
It is that sound of prison.
I know.
Was just...
I was like, I can't do that. And you know, when you're doing drugs, you deal with a lot of people that have been in and out of prison, you know, and so you hear stories all the time. Mm-hmm. And I knew it in my mind, Randy, you go to prison and there's no turning back. Like that. I don't, the likelihood of, you know, people pulling their life together after prison, not saying that it's not possible at all, because I know people that definitely do.
Yep.
But it's like, do I want to go down that road?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. So I think that in that moment, that was the first time that I was like, okay, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
You know, every other time I had to go to rehab or do a program or do court-ordered therapy or whatever it was, I was doing it because I was told I had to do it. You know, you have to do this. Okay, whatever, I'll do it.
I guess I'll do it. Yeah.
Yep.
Going through the motions.
It wasn't until I made the decision to do it for me that I actually did it, gave it my all, and got sober. So, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I can imagine the sound of prison was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is what my life has led up to.
Right.
To this point. And yeah, how lucky you didn't end up going to prison, like you just mentioned. But yeah, who knows what would have happened, right? Had you had gone.
Yeah.
If you'd just gotten that mindset, well, this is who I am at this point. Nothing's going to change.
Right.
I think that's what happens. I've actually had the opportunity to speak at prison and talk to a lot of people who've been through it. And they get in this mindset of, my life got me to this point. This is, I guess, just who I am. So they buy into that belief system.
Yep.
And therefore, their behavior just keeps mirroring it.
Yeah, they just accept it.
They just accept it, and then they keep doing behaviors that back that up.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, you kind of woke up and said, no, okay, I'm going to do something different here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn my life around, right?
Yep. Yeah, and then from there, I enrolled myself into, Weber State, and I went back to college. I actually attended Weber State full time while I was pregnant with my son.
Oh man, that's amazing.
I would, and then I would serve and bartend, at night after school, taking him to the daycare up at Weber State. They have this little campus where they have like a little daycare there.
They could help you out, which is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to go to school.
Yep. And then, sober in that mindset of like not doing drugs, but I still drank, on occasion, and it was never ideal.
Right.
And never an ideal scenario.
Yeah. My
son's dad actually, I had to leave that relationship because his drinking got really, really bad.
Yeah.
And then actually, like my son was 3, and my son's dad actually, pressed charges against me for child abuse because my son came to his house with a bruise on his arm. Mind you, my son's dad is deep in addiction at this point, using drugs, taking pills, and he was privy to the whole scenario that happened with my son, you know, of what the bruise on his arm came from. And I was fully transparent with him about it when I dropped him off. I said, you know, I think the bruise came from me. I must have grabbed him a little too hard, you know, not my intention at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, him and his wife both were in pretty deep addiction with pills, and had asked me to drop child support multiple times, and I guess saw this as an opportunity to try and get full custody of him, and to have me pay them child support. And so that was, in all honesty, probably one of the darkest times of my life, you know, having to go through the idea or possibility of somebody saying that my kid will be taken from me, you know?
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
But inevitably, you know, I just pled guilty to the charge. They dropped it to a Class C misdemeanor, which just said that I unintentionally, you know, put a bruise on my son, which I definitely did, you know?
Yeah.
And we had 50-50 custody, and over about maybe a year, he stopped showing up, and then he hasn't been around for 7 years. So, wow. You know,
so it worked out for the best for your child, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, and I love how honest you are right now and authentic about the situation.
Oh yeah.
I think that's why you're doing so damn good right now, because again, this is what you're learning.
Yeah.
Because before you were probably lying and manipulating, you know, in your addiction, but now you've just learned to just own your actions, own your story, so to speak. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So I think that probably, you know, when I decided to fully get sober, which was about 18 months ago,
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I got married, had my daughter, and then I was with him for about 7 years, 6 or 7 years, and then got divorced. After my divorce, I plummeted into this drinking, you know, of depression, and then COVID hit, and we were isolated, and I'm a single mom with 2 little kids, and working from home, and all the stress of it all. Again, my drinking got really bad, and I remember the last time that I drank, I don't remember how I got where I was, but I had drank probably a half a bottle of Sailor Jerry to myself.
Oh man.
And drove to my boyfriend or ex-boyfriend's house at the time. Again, I had on no pants, no shoes, and I don't remember even getting there. No. And in my mind, when I woke up the next day, and I mean, granted, I'm hungover and I'm still recovering, but I'm just like, what the hell are you doing? You have 2 little kids at home that are dependent on you solely. Yeah. Like my ex-husband doesn't pay for child support. You know, my son's dad hasn't been in the picture for years. I do it all by myself, you know.
Sure.
What, like, you could have died, you could have killed somebody, you could have been arrested, you could have, like, there's just so many what if scenarios. Like, somebody was watching over you, and in that moment I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not drinking anymore. I can't do it. I cannot be the person that has 1 drink and just is okay.
Right.
I don't know my limits, and I have to put my kids, I have to put my, like, they depend on me.
Their well-being first.
I remember when I was on drugs, you know, 15 years ago or 14 years ago, and I would see moms that had children that were using drugs. Yeah. I remember it, and it crushed me all the time to see the neglect, to see the, you know, the abuse or the just, and I remember telling myself I would never be that mom. I would never be that mom that puts a substance or addiction or does that and neglects my responsibility to my children, you know, because it happens a lot. And I don't know if it was just in that moment, because I mean, the drinking for me over the years has been a problem, had been a problem a lot.
Right.
Lost friendships in my marriage, all kinds of scenarios. I don't know what it was about this scenario that like it just clicked for me, and I was like, I've got to be done. Like I can't, I'm not that mom. I'm better than this. Yeah. And I stopped drinking. And I think that once I made that choice, I started posting about my sobriety on social media, just really for myself, to hold myself accountable. And also because I knew that like people would message me and they'd say like, you know, you still sober? How's it going? Like checking in on me, you know, and when you're in COVID or kind of the tail end of COVID and, you know, just things are opening back up, you know, still we weren't really hanging out with people all the time or going to all these places. So it was kind of like my accountability. And then I started to become a little bit more vulnerable in sharing in my story, seeing a lot more people struggling with the same things. Also when I was interviewing for new jobs after, you know, graduating, some of the things they would say is, oh, we're definitely going to give you an offer, but we just need to run a background check. And so
you're like, oh boy.
I'm like, oh shit. That's
Hope you have enough paper in that printer.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
And so that the combination of, you know, me being comfortable with owning my story. Yeah. I would tell them, you know, you're going to run a background check and this is what you're going to find out. So I would always get in front of it before.
Just own it.
I just owned it. Yeah. I owned it then. And then when I actually started to get sober and be a little bit more vulnerable that way, I just felt like, how can anybody really genuinely get close to me or be my friend or understand who I am if they don't understand all of it?
Exactly.
You know, like you've got to understand maybe why I am the way that I am in certain aspects of my life because of the things that I've been through. And if I shelter that and I don't share that with people, it doesn't allow them to actually get to know me and who I am and what makes me me. So
Yeah. No, wow. You know, as I'm listening to your story and I'm just kind of blown away, honestly, you know, going back to when you were 10, going through what you went through with being abused and then losing your biological dad who passed away. Yeah. And then, you know, going to see someone to help you, a therapist or a counselor, and you're like having that feeling right then, this person has no idea because they've never been through what I've been through. Yeah. But think about this. I always say this to my clients. Life happens for us, right? I say that all the time. People are like, really? But you look about it. You went through all that. You had this epiphany as a 10-year-old. Yeah. And here you are today.
I know.
Owning your story. And now you want to put together, you know, become this trauma and recovery coach. Yep. And then have this set up to where you're helping other people lead with their story. So the person that they're helping will go, okay, I know what they've been through. Yeah. So think about that. Had you not gone through that scenario, I know. You wouldn't be doing what you're doing today. I probably wouldn't. No. I don't think you would.
Yeah. And I've
that
always,
just blows my mind.
I know. I've always told my grandma or my mom or even, you know, just people close to me, like I've always felt like my life was meant for more than, you know, than just a 9-to-5 job or whatever it is. However, it's like, you know, they say like how much I know that God must say that I'm really strong because he just keeps
giving me challenges,
you know, challenge after challenge. But it's like, I've always felt like my purpose was meant, like that the trauma that I've lived through, my story, all of the things that I've been able to overcome have been for a reason, you know, been for a bigger purpose than just for me to like, you know, be able to overcome them or work through them, to be able to inevitably share that with people, to be able to give that ability and those tools to other people, you know, however that plays out. But
well, and because you've been vulnerable in sharing your story, you know, that's how we were talking about this. My daughter saw you put a post on LinkedIn and you were really vulnerable in this post about your past and what you've been going through. And my daughter sends this to me and says, Dad, you got to get this woman on your podcast. So I read the post. I'm like, holy crap, this woman who is this woman, right?
Yeah.
I was blown away by your vulnerability and how you just, again, owned it.
Yep.
And I reached out to you, and thankfully you responded.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting here today. And again, life happens for us. And now you're going to be speaking to 350,000 people who are going to hear your story.
Yeah.
But they'll also relate, and because maybe there's people listening who haven't been abused sexually, but they know what it feels like to feel lonely and lost and dark and feel, no one believes in me and that kind of thing. And so your words, are going to make a huge impact on so many people by sharing this today,
Yeah. The thing that I think, nobody, I have to make the decision, you have to make the decision to want the change or to want to do something different. For a lot of years, I sat in my victim mentality, right? I'm abused and I have all this trauma and, my life is miserable and horrible. And I lived there for years, drinking, drugs, a lot of it. And it wasn't until I decided that, I'm tired of being this way. I got to make a change. And the only person that could make the change was me. I lived in low income housing. I was on food stamps and Medicaid for a lot of years. I knew that was the only way that I could do it. I wanted to go to school. I applied for grants. I applied for student loans. I did what, instead of asking for help and, granted, I did ask schools for help or whatnot, but I did it.
Yeah, you put in the work to make that happen because that's not easy to apply for all that stuff. That takes work, effort, right?
Yeah, and getting denied many times because there's one box that's unchecked or,
you're like,
one part of your paper that wasn't filled out properly, but man,
that's amazing. I noticed a tattoo on your hand.
Oh, yeah.
It says, beauty is found within.
Yeah.
Why did you put that on there?
So my sleeve is actually,
let's see. Yeah, I'd love to.
It's a Disney sleeve.
Oh, wow.
So it's all Disney. So, so I have the Lady and the Tramp, and the Lady and the Tramp was a gift that I had gotten from my father, my biological dad, when he was in prison.
Okay.
And it actually had the date that I was born, and it said, "I love you." And when he passed, I wanted to get something to represent him.
Yeah, right.
And so I got the Lady and the Tramp with the date that he passed, and I love you. And then it just trickled down into my favorite Disney movies. And
I love it.
The Disney movies that are my favorite are the ones that are, based on actual love stories.
Yeah.
It's not just like Cinderella, she's the main one. So it's Aladdin and Jasmine.
Yes.
Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. And so each of these quotes are just quotes from the movie that I found.
You're the one I've been looking for.
Yep.
Wow.
And then this says, you're only a fool if you give up.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful. It looks
Thank you.
amazing. Seriously, whoever did the work there obviously did an amazing job because they look exactly like the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Scott at Heavy Duty Tattoo.
Okay. A little shout out to Scott. Good job, Scott, man. You do amazing work. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
God, there's so many things I want to ask you, but if there's someone listening to your voice right now who's struggling, they're in a dark place. They're in the place you've been before.
Mm-hmm.
You've obviously shared some amazing things about your story already, but what that one person listening right now who's struggling, what would you tell them in this moment? What's the one thing you could maybe tell them that would help them?
Wow,
I know it's a big question.
That's a big question.
Yeah. Because I promise you there's someone listening right now who's struggling.
There is struggling. I think that a lot of people, when they're struggling, you would say, it gets better. And I hated that.
Yeah.
I hated that when people would say,
it's going to get better.
Oh, I promise it'll get better.
Yeah.
the truth is it's probably going to get a little bit tougher before it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was struggling, really, something that, probably would have been helpful to hear is that you own your story.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Your life is meant for more,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's such a hard question to think. If something I could say to somebody.
Well, I think when you say even just that is your life was meant for more. Think about you. You weren't born to be a drug addict. You weren't born to be in prison.
No.
That's not why you're here.
No.
Right? Ultimately. Yeah. And I think that's what you're saying is whoever is listening to this right now struggling, no matter you are struggling, but it's because I really believe, I say this all the time, addiction is the wake-up call to your greatness.
Yeah.
Look what you're doing now. This is your greatness, Randi.
Yeah.
This is you. And you got so much more you're going to do with everything that you've got planned. But it's waking you up to this greatness that's in you.
Yeah.
So maybe anyone listening to this is you were meant for more. In other words, this is preparing you for the greatness that you're going to share with the world. Yeah.
I always, I just lost what I was going to say, but, I lost what I was going to say. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. Well, so you got some future plans here. Obviously, you're going to be a trauma and recovery coach. Like we said earlier, you're a mental health advocate. You've got the company We Rise.
Yeah.
I love that you're wanting to give back. I think that's the beautiful thing. And more importantly, the vulnerability you've shown over the last 18 months and sharing your story. I mean, it inspired me. Yeah. I mean, I don't just reach out to anybody.
No,
I really don't.
I remember what I was going to say.
Okay, good. Okay. Please.
So what I was going to say was that, I, at my lowest, I had thought that, people would say, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better.
Yeah.
When in reality, like when I had to choose me. I had to choose my life. I had to choose to do better. I had to make the choice, right?
Yeah.
That I wasn't going to allow this to control my life anymore.
Yeah.
One of the times for me, I called my abuser. I hadn't talked to him in years, asked to meet with him, and I forgave him.
Really?
And I forgave him because, and he in of himself was shocked, but I said, listen, I'm not forgiving you for you. I'm forgiving you for me because I cannot carry this weight anymore.
Yeah.
I was just so angry all the time. And I was just so upset. But I thought that, when I chose me and I chose my life, that things were just going to immediately get better, right? Like I was just going to be like, when I got sober, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get sober. My life's just going to get better. When in reality, I just had to face everything, all the emotions, all of the trauma. I had to actually face it and work through it. And I had to put in the work to get better.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you have to choose yourself. You have to choose you. And but you also have to understand that by doing so, that comes with work, you know?
Yeah.
But that inevitably, like I hate that saying, oh, it gets better. But inevitably it does, because you're like forced to have to work through it, but then you have tools and so that's what I was going to say.
No, thanks for sharing that. No, that's really powerful. And the power of forgiveness, you're right. It's not necessarily for the other person. It's for you. It's to set yourself free.
Yeah.
And wow, you really are an inspiration.
Oh.
Seriously, Randi, you're
you.
amazing. And honestly, you have this beautiful light coming from you. I'm not just saying that, like
Thank
you
you
really do. That's why I'm saying people will be shocked when they're like, oh, wow, she went through all of that. Yeah. But that's what's going to make you so amazing at being this trauma and recovery coach, because of what you've been through.
Yeah.
Truly, you're going to be amazing at it.
Thank you.
And the world does need you.
Yeah.
And you're going to help so many people. I mean, your journey's just beginning. I know that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
you know.
It's my birthday tomorrow. I'm going to be
Is it?
36.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're still a young pup.
Yeah.
You're still young.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, if someone wanted to reach out to you, if you're comfortable with this, you know, and they just want to ask you a question, or if they're going through a struggle, or they have a daughter who might be struggling or whatever.
Yeah.
What would be the best way for them to touch base with you?
So I have a website called werisefromtheashes.com. On that website, there is a way to book like a 30-minute like consultation.
Oh, cool.
It's free. It's, you know, anytime they want to book time to chat with me. As of right now, it's going to be free. Just
awesome.
To be able to kind of, you know, have an avenue to talk or to chat or whatever.
Okay.
They can also email me at randy@werisefromtheashes.com. Either way, they're welcome to reach out to me. I have Instagram, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. No, very cool. I challenge anyone though who is, you know, maybe struggling or they were inspired by your words today to reach out to you. I will put this in all the show notes. Yeah. So once we go live, they'll have links to all that for you as well.
Perfect.
And I mean, I feel better just sitting here talking to you.
Oh, well,
truly. Yeah. It's been fun.
It feels good sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, I've done this twice before this. First time I did it, I cried so much. Right. I was like, you don't realize, I think, having these types of conversations and reliving these scenarios, you know, or having those types of conversations, how hard they can be, you know, initially at first. Oh yeah. So this being my third one, I'm like, I'm not crying. I'm like proud of myself.
No, you did great. No, you're very well spoken. You can tell you come from the heart. Yeah. And like we said early on, you know, you're owning your story now, which is a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
So I can't thank you enough for being on the show and for spending some time today with us. And I know your words are going to make a big difference on someone who's hearing this right now. Yeah. And so thank you for your time today.
Of course.
Yeah. Thanks Randi Neal. You bet. Randy. Amazing story, guys. I told you this is going to blow your minds. It's just amazing. People are amazing. People are just amazing to me. You know, I challenge every one of you, and you hear me say this a lot. Not only listen to this, when you're done listening, if you know someone who you think may be struggling, I don't even care if you're not even sure, send them a link to this episode and have them listen to Randy's story, because it'll inspire them that they can get through whatever difficulty they're going through, because it does eventually get better. But like you said so beautifully, that it does get at times even harder at times, but you were meant for more, like you said. So I love that. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, thanks to my sponsors. This wouldn't be possible without you. I love you guys so much. And I'm just grateful for people like Randy who are out there overcoming some difficult things and rising above. What a beautiful name. We rise from the ashes. How perfect that is for you. Yeah. Right. So love you guys. And till next time.